Jalen, who is joining us on the show?
Lil Bro has been a multiple six-man of the year, a prolific scorer, a walking bucket. Keep the crossover. J crossover. Ooh, mind playing tricks on me. Dun, 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 dun.
He is Jalen Rose. I am David Jacoby. We are Jalen and Jacoby. What is it that we do?
We get the people what they want.
Jamal Crawford is joining us later in the show, but we start the show with tonight's big deciding Game 4 in the NBA Finals between the Bucks and the Suns. And the story is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Jalen Rose, 42 in Game 2, 41 in Game 3. He's been absolutely dominant. What can the Suns do to stop or slow down?
He was gone
Giannis.
Knee deep. Once you did the freak with me, I don't know if they're going to be able to stop Giannis. See, the one thing about being a primary three-point shooting team, you're going to have your hot and cold days. If he continues to drive the basketball and play with force, I think he's going to get stronger as the series progresses. Here's why. He's actually making his free throws. Yep. That's going to give him more confidence to drive to the basket. And also, they don't have anybody in particular other than Ayton that can impose the Greek freak if he's being aggressive. I ain't mad at the one leg fall away. I like that he added that. I'm not mad at him attempting one or two heat check threes. But when he decides that he's going to continue to drive the basketball and dunk with the left, dunk with the right, dunk with two hands, and then all of a sudden you get cutters. And he was doing backdoors to Bobby Portis, getting him a layup, getting other guys involved. And so this is the Giannis I think we're going to see for the rest of the series. But if you're DeAndre Ayton and the Phoenix Suns, you must find a way to keep the young fella on the floor. Your team looks dramatically different with him off the floor. In the previous game, he had like 18 points in like the first 15 or 16 minutes. Once he got in foul trouble, that's when Milwaukee went on their initial run. And at that point, the Suns were playing on their heels.
Exactly. They need to keep DeAndre Ayton on the floor, especially without Saric. Craig isn't 100%, so that means they're going to put in Frank Kaminsky, and no one can stop Giannis, but Frank Kaminsky definitely can't stop Giannis. They also need contributions from CP3 and Devin Booker, who were so good in Game 1 and Game 2 at home, but struggled a little bit in Game 3. Do you expect them to bounce back in Game 4?
I like what you did there, family, because you're right. They alternated 30-point games in Games 1 and 2. But the problem in Game 3, neither one of them cracked 20. If they're going to win this series, both of them have to be scoring, in particular on the road, where you're not going to get Mikal Bridges to also all of a sudden pop up and score 27 points. I appreciate, however, what Cam Johnson was able to do off the bench. That's something positive that they're going to be able to build on the road. But you're going to need Cameron Payne to push the tempo. You're going to need Jay Crowder to make shots from three. But ultimately, your backcourt is what's going to drive this. And Book can't finish the last 5 minutes on the sideline unless they're up 25 and he's putting ice on his knees. It can't be because he was already struggling, only had 10 points, and Monty was trying to save him for the next game.
Yeah, see, I was very, very confounded by that decision to keep Book on the bench in the fourth quarter, especially because of the final schedule. There's multiple days off between Game 3 and Game 4, so the idea that he was resting for fatigue reasons doesn't really work for me. However, one of the reasons that CP3 and Book did struggle in Game 3 was Drew Holiday. You know what Drew Holiday is going to give you on the defensive end, but in Game 3, he showed up on the offensive end as well. Can they expect that in Game 4?
No hesitation. I think they can. And the threes that he made, in particular in the second half, Jacoby, were major. But let me go back to your comment about Booker finishing on the bench. Here's why you do that. You go to your star player and you say, I'm going to go small with CP and Cameron to see if we can force some tempo and get the game back under control, get us around 10, and then I'll go to you. The problem is they never made a run. If they would have made a run, he would have got back in the game. They just never made a run.
Yeah, they didn't make a run. And you talk about them pushing the tempo. The problem is when you push the tempo, the Bucks are great in transition, especially Giannis, and they will feast in transition if the Suns allow them to in Game 4. We have some other NBA news, which is very interesting and has some serious implications. Kawhi Leonard had successful surgery to repair a partial tear of his ACL. Now, Kawhi Leonard has a player option. He could opt into 1 year, about $36 million. He's also eligible to get about a 4-year, $176 million contract from the Clippers. Do you think this injury and his rehabilitation will change or impact his decision that he has to make this offseason?
You know how much I am a fan of Kawhi and how I've talked about the level of player he was from San Diego State, playing for Steve Fisher and Brian Dutcher, basically playing center in high school, wasn't much of a three-point shooter, to being a finals MVP and a multiple champion in the NBA. But this knee injury is clearly a real issue. It's, in theory, what got him out of San Antonio. The alleged misdiagnosis of it is what allowed him to fall out with the team and ultimately led for him to end up in Toronto. So now that he's with the Clippers, you don't want to see your star player go under the knife, in particular when he has an option to be a free agent. But this actually is the best thing long-term that could have happened for the Clippers.
Why's that?
Because you're the team that has to be happy with paying Kawhi a maximum deal, even though that you know that he's injured, even though that you know that you're going to need to load manage. That was a part of the agreement when he got there. And so also as the player, you don't want to be traveling, being recruited while you're injured, while you're trying to rehab. So therefore, I think because of that, he ultimately ends up signing long-term to stay with the Clippers.
Yes, I also agree. I think that if he was 100% healthy and he had a great playoff run, then maybe he considers joining the Heat or the Mavericks or leaving LA. But the idea that he just had surgery and he's going to be rehabbing, and as you mentioned, he's going to load manage. This tells me that he's not going to play a full slate of games next year, and he's comfortable doing that with the Clippers. Jalen, we had the Major League Baseball All-Star Game last night. It started out so exciting. We had Ohtani with a 1-2-3 first inning. We had Vlad Jr. going deep. But it got kind of boring in the late innings, Jalen Rose. I can't lie. What did you think of the All-Star Game?
Bam, you know why I got boring? Because they took my guy out. You already know I'm going on the World Tour to see Shohei when the season ended. I've been telling you that all year. And he did do a Snoop Dogg in the first inning, his 1, 2, 3, and got him up out of there. And they took him out of the game after just competing in the home run derby. The guy is incredible. Shout to Vlad Jr., however, the youngest All-Star Game MVP. Hit a rocket moon shot in the game. And I'm telling you, I saw this with James Harden. His improvement started when he got in shape. Same with Draymond Green, same with Kevin Love. Those three players, look at them when they were in college and earlier in their career. Transforming their bodies turned them into all-star level players. That's what happened with Vlad Jr.
You know, that also is what happened with you, Jalen Rose. When we started this show, you were much bigger than you are now, and you have also transformed your body and improved your performance. So it is not just these prime athletes that are doing that. It is also you. Because I remember 50, Kangaroo dog. Jalen. You were analyzing basketball while your head looked like the basketball at the same time. Jalen, I have some very concerning news because I don't love the Pistons, but I love you, and you love the Pistons. And now there are reports that teams, specifically the Rockets, are aggressively trying to trade for the number 1 pick. If the Pistons trade this pick, I will never, ever, 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 ever not think about it. This is a no-brainer. Cade Cunningham, number 1 pick. You cannot trade a no-brainer number 1 pick. Jalen, why would they even be considering this?
I already see the big stage. The first draft held on ABC. I'm on the set, suited and booted, next to Jay Will, next to Maria Taylor, next to Woj. The Detroit Pistons have not drafted number 1 since the early 70s. That was Bob Lanier, the big dauber. They haven't taken a guard number 1 since 1967, and that was my biological father, Jimmy Walker. You're not going to trade this pick because you don't get this type of player very often, clearly, in particular, since he's the undisputed #1 overall player.
He is a tailor-made prospect for today's NBA. He is as close to a can't miss as you get. The Pistons should not even be picking up the phone. They should not even be picking up the phone.
Yeah.
Look at him. Look at him in that Pistons uniform.
About. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And here's the thing. Not only should we not be considering trading a pick, don't even play no games. Don't work out other people. Don't speculate that you're considering. Use that time talking to his family. Use that time talking to his high school coach. Use that time ingratiating him to the city, because you saw Ben Wallace up there. He'll let you know what it's like to be a Detroit Piston player and how we put on for our squad.
You know what? I can't wait. I can't wait till Cade Cunningham is at the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy golf outing every year. I can't wait till he's in the gym with the Jaguars. That's how you ingratiate yourself to Detroit, is you become a Jalen Rose Leadership Academy supporter.
Indeed.
Just
Absolutely.
like our next guest, Jalen Rose, who is joining us in a very brief time.
Jay Crossover, and imagine the guy that he just turned in circles, Kirk Heinrich, he actually played behind him at a point of his career. Jay Crossover joins us next.
Styling and profiling. Thank you for the fros, the suits, the short shorts, long shorts, the tats, and gotta be the shoes. Game 4. Wear it well. It's the NBA Finals.
Coming to you live from the Seaport District of New York City and brought to you by Chase. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby, joining us right now on the program. This man is a walking bucket. It is Jamal Crawford. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Man, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. I'm one of the biggest fans of the show.
Oh, it means a lot to us. We have Game 4 of the NBA Finals tonight. Seems like there's been a momentum swing as the series went to Milwaukee. What do you expect tonight in Game 4?
I expect Milwaukee to win. I really do. I think the home team has won every single game, and that's how I see it playing out. I see it going 7, and I think Phoenix wins in the end.
So, JC, I love you, brother. Thank you for joining the show. It's a family affair, as I sung. And you played with CP. You balled with Book. What do you see with these Phoenix Suns, and how do you feel they're going to close it out?
Well, I think they have 2 closers. You know what I mean? Usually you have 1 closer if you're lucky. They have 2 closers, and they know how to get out each other's way while still being effective. I think they're both dogs. I think they both have respect for each other, and I think they're focused. I think they're hungry and humble. They know what's at stake, and I think they're going to get it done in the series.
Now, Team USA is preparing for the Tokyo Olympics. They beat Argentina, but they previously lost to Australia and Nigeria. What do you think about the state of Team USA right now?
I think it was a shocker for everyone, but I think they'll figure it out. There's too much talent. You have the great Greg Popovich over there, and I feel like you have the best player in the world, Kevin Durant. So with all those things, when they come into play, at the end of the day, I still see them winning the gold.
JC, I've been extremely outspoken about the fact that you should still be in the league. The last time we saw you, you were scoring 50, literally, for the Suns. You also played for Doc Rivers, who coaches Ben Simmons, who clearly struggles offensively, in particular outside of the paint. Would you trade Ben Simmons at this point of his career, and why do you think he has that hesitancy to shoot outside of the paint?
Well, like you told me, it's a thinking man's game. You told me that a long time ago, and sometimes I can work against you. I think Ben is thinking a little bit too much about his jumper and his shot instead of just focusing on what he does well. If he stays away from what he doesn't do well and kind of, protects himself within that, I think he'll be fine. But push come to shove, he still has to work on getting through that free throw block and getting through the paint block, because that's going to haunt him the rest of his career if he doesn't nip it in the bud now.
One thing you can always do is get yourself to your spot and get a mid-range jump shot. We see CP doing it in the finals. We saw DeMar DeRozan do it for his whole career. You said a mid-range shot is like a jab in boxing. What do you mean by that?
It keeps you honest. I mean, there's more than one way to skin a cat. I've always seen the best scorers in the world, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, LeBron James. They live in the mid-range, and I think it keeps you effective. You can control the game from the mid-range area. People don't always think it's going to be a 3 or a layup. That's predictable. I think being unpredictable and mixing it up gives you the best chance. And at the end of the day, they're not going to call foul when you go in there, and you don't want to live and die by a three-pointer. That mid-range is the jab that's going to keep you honest throughout the whole game.
And I know Jamal Crawford has a baby face with a dope part in his head, but he's the only guy in the history of the NBA to score 50-plus points for 4 teams, and he's also had back-to-back 50-point games this year in his summer league. So Jamal, tell us why you're still playing at such a high level, and do you have hopes to still play in the NBA?
Well, love of the game. I thank you guys for always holding me down, always keep my name ringing, always get those texts from everybody that you guys have mentioned me. For me, it's just love of the game. I used to dream about being in this position. I dreamed about going to Michigan because J. Rose and the Fab Five went there. I dreamed about being in the NBA. You know, so for me, I'm going to play as long as I can, as long as I'm at a high level. When I'm not, I'll be the first one to stop playing. But for now, basketball is something I love. It comes natural to me. You know, and I would love to play in the NBA again in the right situation, but I'm not just waiting by the phone. So it's just love of the game. If that opportunity comes, obviously I'll be ready.
So Jalen mentioned it, but you have 2 straight 50-point games in your Seattle Pro-Am League. You know, I love the Drew League. I love Dykeman. I love Rucker. I love that kind of stuff. What has the experience been like for you this summer in Seattle?
It's been unbelievable because we didn't get a chance to play last year because of COVID, obviously. And the year before that, you know, I was getting right and taking my time, so I didn't get a chance to play. So 2 years, they was waiting for me to play, and I had to make sure I sent a message. The last time people saw me, I got hurt. I got hurt on the court, you know, and I didn't want to let that be a last impression. So for me, I said, I'm going to send a message this weekend, right from the start.
So players like Jamal and KD, I call them barnstormers, Jacoby. They'll fly into your town, go put up 50 on your court, and leave and have your own fans booing you. I got to ask you a really important question that we argue about on this show. In those type of runs, do you like 1s and 2s or 2s and 3s when you playing street ball?
We could do it however they want to do it, Jay. If they want to have chain nets as the basket, if they want to go outside, I was outside playing and the court was sloped up, so I had to figure that out while playing. Whatever they want to do, every circumstance I've seen. So whatever they want to do, we could do it.
So one thing that I always get terrified by are the double rims. When I go to the park outside and I see the double rims with the chain net, I know I'm not hitting any jump shots. Are you intimidated by double rims?
I used to be, but then I figured out it ain't the double rims. When I'm outside, it's the wind. The wind's the hardest defense I've ever seen because I can't judge it. Yeah, I can figure out the double rims at some point, but that wind, you never know how it's going to, hit when you let the ball go.
Hey, JC, I want to make sure Team USA get a gold medal. They dropped their first 2 exhibition games. They got it together in the previous game. Why do you think they struggled so far?
I think part of it, I watched the first game, is defensively. I think they're giving up a lot of open shots. I think they could be more aggressive on defense. And I think offensively, I would love to see, somebody kind of, if we're going to play through KD or Dame or whoever it's going to be, let's take the lead. And I think it makes everybody else fall in line and puts them in their role a little bit easier than all of them kind of like, no, you shoot it. No, you shoot it. I think it gives more continuity when we know exactly where we're pointing the ball.
It's a really good point. Jamal, thank you so much for joining us on Jalen and Jacoby. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you guys.
Thanks a lot,
I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
No doubt.
We'll be back right after